Congressman Adam Schiff is the top Democrat on the committee, joining me now. What did Mike Flynn do? What do you suspect that he did?
Well, I think there are three legal questions concerning Mike Flynn, a couple of which have been raised by the Government Reform Committee, and that is, was he legally entitled or able to receive these payments from these Russian entities, from this Turkish entity, or as a general officer, a former military officer, was he prohibited from even receiving this money? There's a second question about whether he failed to report this money on his security forms when he was doing his background check. And then finally, there would be an issue of whether he made false statements about any of his dealings with the Russians. So those are some of the legal clouds that I think hang over General Flynn. Obviously, we're interested to know whether any part of this involved Russia's influence campaign in the United States, both during and after the election. But those, I think, are the three questions surrounding Mr. Flynn.
Politico was reporting that the Turkish organization, the Turkish people who paid him, actually were backed by a Russian oligarch, an energy businessman close to Vladimir Putin. Is it Russia behind the Turkish deal as well?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you, I remember, and this, now that we know that he received this money from Turkey, I guess about $500,000, it explains something that mystified me at the time, and that was right around the election, Michael Flynn wrote an op-ed where, among other things, he called for the United States to turn over Fethullah Gulen, this Turkish cleric who lives in the United States and Pennsylvania, to the Erdogan regime. He called for that, I think, without ever seeing any evidence suggesting that Gulen was involved in the coup effort, as Erdogan likes to claim. And that, to me, was a breathtaking request for him to make or urge publicly in the way that he did. Now we know, of course, he was being paid to propagate this opinion. So I find that very deeply disturbing.
Congressman, is it credible, as was indicated by Sean Spicer at the White House briefing, that they don't have any paperwork on Mike Flynn?
Well, it sounds like from their response that they do have paperwork for Michael Flynn, that they weren't willing to give it to the Government Reform Committee. I think they should provide it to the Government Reform Committee. What's more, they should also provide it to the Intelligence Committee. Part of the justification they gave to Government Reform was that the information was classified. Well, that obviously is not a bar to their providing that information to the Intelligence Committee. I think it would assist our efforts, and I hope they will comply.
And are you going to have public hearings with Sally Yates? I know you're going to have private hearings as well, but are you going to do this in public?
We've invited Sally Yates and directors Brennan and Clapper to come and testify in public in an open session. So we're still in the process of looking at dates for that, as well as trying to coordinate our actions with the Senate, which is also has an interest in hearing from at least some of these witnesses. But yes, we plan to go forward with open hearings, and we're in the process of talking to the witnesses about how to make that happen.
In a word, are you satisfied that between the FBI and your committees you're moving quickly enough?
You know, we're never moving quickly enough from my point of view, but we are, I think, back on track, which is very positive. I had a very productive meeting with my counterpart, Mike Conaway. I think he's very serious about getting us back on a nonpartisan footing. So we are scheduling witnesses, not only the open hearings that we're talking about, but we're also going to be scheduling individual witnesses, witnesses that we would consider recipient witnesses, to come before to be interviewed or deposed by the committee. So we are back on track. I think that's progress. I would feel far more comfortable, though, Andrea, if in addition to what we were doing, we had a fully independent commission that was staffed well enough, focused on this, completely removed from the political process. That ought to be not instead of what we're doing, but in addition to what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Adam Schiff. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for being with us, and we'll be right back.